Welcome to today's webinar, SharePoint 2016 Power User Webinar Series, Chapter 1. Our presenters today will be Cosmin Ovesilla and Duncan Smith. Please note that the webinar recording and slides will be sent in 2 to 3 business days. If you have any questions during the presentation, please place them into the Q&A form. Now I'm going to pass it over to Duncan Smith.
Thanks, Victoria. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I also want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us for the first of our 3-part series on SharePoint. I'm the business development lead for SharePoint at NEWSIGNATURE, and I'll be your first point of contact if you're interested in having a follow-up conversation about any of the topics we're going to cover today. And I've had the pleasure of working with Cosmin and Mario for a number of years. Cosmin's going to be talking us through the why around SharePoint 2016, and Cosmin, you will likely get a chance to meet if you decide you want to further the conversation and look at how we could potentially work together. So I wanted to start by quickly talking a little bit about NEWSIGNATURE and then introducing our SharePoint practice. And I'm going to keep this brief because I'm sure most of you are more interested in hearing what Cosmin has to say about SharePoint 2016 and the future of SharePoint. But to get us started, for those of you who have not had a chance to work with NEWSIGNATURE or perhaps haven't worked with us recently, NEWSIGNATURE is a full-service technology company, and we're a premier Microsoft solution provider here in North America, as well as in Europe. And the values that NEWSIGNATURE was founded upon, I think, really continue to drive our success and our commitment to delivering great customer experiences. And our goal, wherever possible, is to help you improve and transform your business with innovative solutions. And as you can see here, our engagement model is fairly simple, but quite effective as well. We plan, we build, and where appropriate, we can also operate your SharePoint environment as well. We have 3 standard pillars for our service offerings, as you can see here. The professional services, which is really where the SharePoint practice sits under the design and development side. We also have managed services, again, around infrastructure, whether it be on-prem or in the cloud. We can help to monitoring and maintenance. And we also have a 3rd pillar here around cloud applications. So for those customers who potentially have a solution which we've solved for
Hi everyone, thanks for your patience. It looks like Duncan is trying to get back into the meeting. It'll just be one moment.
Hi, thanks, Victoria. I'm not sure what happened there, but hopefully everyone can still hear me. And maybe we'll just pause for a second because it looked like a few people might have gotten booted out as well. So as I was saying, yes, here we can see our 3 pillars for our service offerings. Most importantly, though, I think, is our cloud-first sort of cross-stack approach. From a technology perspective, we really focus on delivering services across the full lifecycle of Microsoft products. So whether you be on-prem, in the cloud, or even hybrid, we're here to help you realize that benefit that you've made in the Microsoft technology stack. Okay, so moving on, I'd now like to spend just a few moments introducing the SharePoint practice. We've been building and delivering SharePoint experiences and solutions for well over 15 years now, and we have a very talented and multi-skilled approach to delivering SharePoint. And what you see here is sort of an alignment of that engagement model, the plan, build, operate framework, which I mentioned earlier, and the listing of service offerings that we can provide. But the point here, I think, that I want to leave you with is really around the strategy and the change management piece, which we look to layer in at every step, and is in some ways, I think, the starting place for a conversation around SharePoint, because, well, SharePoint is a very robust and powerful set of technologies. You really need to keep in mind the people side of the equation in order for it to be successful, and sometimes that requires some high-level conversations around what you're trying to do from a business perspective, and certainly it involves a full understanding of how it's going to be used by your end user community. And towards that end, what you can see here is our sort of standard guiding principles for how we look to deliver value, again, using SharePoint. And it really boils down to this commitment to putting people first. And wherever possible, we want to create a user experience that is very enticing and really, exceeds people's beliefs about what SharePoint can be. So we spent a fair bit of time, again, looking at, what are the real issues that your employees are faced with around collaboration or communication, coming up with a design and an interface that is simple to use and really draws people into that experience. And then last but not least, and Cosmin's certainly going to touch upon this in some detail today, is building that foundation, that technical excellence, and doing it right the first time so that you're set up for success. So with that said, I will now turn it over to Cosmin to talk us through SharePoint 2016 and what you will want it for and what you will get out of it. Over to you, Cosmin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cosmin Ovesia. I'm one of the solution architects at NEWSIGNATURE, specialized in SharePoint and Office 365. I just want to know if everybody can see the slides. I just took over as a presenter right now. And we will talk today about SharePoint 2016, why you want it and what you will get for that, and what SharePoint 2016 means in the new world. Not long ago was released as general availability and was a huge SharePoint announcement. And in Microsoft worlds, what it's SharePoint 2016, I don't want to say it's a new product, it's an improved product. It's a new version of SharePoint that modernized your on-premise infrastructure to improve speed and scale and enable the whole new user experience that it's actually in cloud and bring the cloud to your on-premise infrastructure. And of course, because not everything that it's on cloud, some of the workloads still need to stay on-prem, it's putting a bridge, a connection between the new cloud infrastructure that Microsoft is building and your on-premise infrastructure, on-premise data. And it's making that much more flexible, much more, the productivity it's increasing and all this stuff. So why SharePoint 2016? Is just because it's putting that bridge. Some of my colleagues are saying it's a new infrastructure update and of SharePoint, and it's one of the foundation that will be put in place for the cloud. Until now, the whole cycle of SharePoint was every 3 years. Like, I'm working with SharePoint for version 2001. After that was 2003, 2007, 2010, 2013. So every 3 years, Microsoft was releasing a new version of SharePoint, and new functionality were coming in. After 2013, the whole innovation was moved to cloud. So you will see on a lot of features that right now are on SharePoint 2016 that already exist in cloud for the last 1 or 2 years. So 2016, it's a new platform that is put in place on your on-premise data centers, and we'll close the gap on new cycles. When I'm saying close the gap in new cycles, means that Right now, Microsoft is committing that every single year, or almost every single year, things that are happening in cloud to be released over the SharePoint 2016 infrastructure immediately. So that's why it's actually a major infrastructure component that need to sit on your on-premise if you actually need that on-premise. If not, we'll be on cloud. You can move your data on cloud and just get rid of the on-premise infrastructure if that's what is suiting you. So the next topic that I will discuss is what's new on SharePoint 2016, what it's so fantastic. How I said, it's a major infrastructure update, and it's completely inspired from the cloud. The user interface, it's improved. The user experience, it's improved. All the lessons learned from the clouds right now are migrated on the on-prem. So people will have the same experience even if they are on Office 365 SharePoint or on your SharePoint 2016 on-prem. Another major pillar is the security and compliance. There were a lot of improvements on SharePoint, on security and compliance on the cloud space. So a lot of functionality that it's on the security and compliance space from the Office 365 is coming right now on the on-premise. And of course, the hybrid scenario. Majority of the companies will work on hybrid scenario. When I'm saying majority of the company who actually need a presence on premise, because some of the components may be on cloud, some of them on premise. And looking on the space that we're seeing right now, a lot of them will be on this hybrid scenario. And SharePoint 2016, it's a platform to get that bridge connected. It's, how I was saying, it's a major infrastructure update inspired from the cloud. A lot of stuff that was happening on cloud right now is coming on premise. It's more scalable, more flexible, and not just scalable and flexible, even the whole practice on having like 5.9 availabilities and all this stuff, all the lessons learned for the cloud environment right now are pushed on the new SharePoint infrastructure on premise. So you can achieve zero downtime if you are deploying your SharePoint infrastructure properly on premise. And we'll talk about each of them. SharePoint 2016 base infrastructure is based on the newer version of Windows Server 2016. Not that it's not working even on the previous version, but like that's the preferred way if you want to have new features and all the enhancement features from them for cloud monitoring, virtualizations, and all this stuff. And of course, not just Windows Server 2016 and even SQL Server 2016 is coming into the mix to have new improved analytics in memory, like high availability with always on, stretch database technology between cold and warm on Microsoft Azure, and of course it's used as a complete database platform for the hybrid cloud. In top of that, in top of SharePoint 2016, Microsoft is putting a new version of Project Server 2016 that is actually natively integrated with SharePoint 2016, and it's bringing all this project and portfolio management closer to the content that resides in SharePoint. So that's talking about the infrastructure. We'll talk about what is new there. So when we are saying that it's much more scalable, right now, all this, there are new boundaries that are published for SharePoint 2016. The content databases are actually in the size of terabytes. When I'm saying size of terabytes, not a long time ago, we were having a limitation of don't have the content database bigger than 250 gigs. for different reasons. Backup times, not you need to way too big, data files way too big, all this stuff. So right now with the new technology and the new blob storage technology that it's sitting on SQL, the content databases can grow on the size of the terabytes. Large file support. Not on the previous version of SharePoint, we were limited to like 2 gigs of data when you were uploading a file. Right now, that files limit was increased to like 10 gigs of data, and of course it's configurable. Number of site collection per content database, again, much improved, 100,000 items site collection per content database. Another limit that was before and was one, I don't want to say one of the hard, but it's like was very hard for developers to go over the list view of threshold, that 5,000 items. Even if SharePoint was able to manage like millions of records on the list, still you were limited to like 5,000 items threshold when you are viewing the items on the list view. So right now it's bigger than 5,000. And of course the search, it's way improved right now. It's probably 2.5 times the items on the index per service applications. Right now we can have like 500 million items on the search service application on that index. And when we're talking on that, we are talking about why all this stuff, because we need to have like flexible hybrid deployment scenario. When you say hybrid deployment scenario, it's like right now, SharePoint can be deployed on-prem and have pieces of the SharePoint that are on cloud. People can use team sites on cloud, or at the same time can use different team sites on-prem. Another piece that was for hybrid deployment scenario, that was one of the contests, that was the user profile. User profile, like the individual user profile, usually is sitting in one location, and it's stored in one location. Right now, we can have portion of the user profile sitting online, but have your personal files as a hybrid that are contained on the OneDrive for Business sitting on premise. So if you have scenario where legal or other reason are preventing to have your personal file on OneDrive in cloud and you want to keep them on premise, this is one of the things that can gap the bridge and do the configuration to have the OneDrive for Business on premise. For some people, for some of them, will be on cloud. And of course, another major use case is the cloud hybrid search. When we're saying cloud hybrid search, a lot of times we heard for the clients that they have one environment on SharePoint 2013, 2016 on premise and cloud, and suddenly they have 3 different places where they need to search, and each of them has its own index. The information is not coming together, is not ranked together, and you're searching on different systems. Right now, with all this hybrid scenario integration, you can actually index all your content, including your on-premise content, and that index, it's shipped to the Office 365. And once a user is querying the index on Office 365, it's actually doing a query there, you will get results from all the environment in a unified way. When I say unified way on the search, it's not that they will see 3 different windows and telling you that this is coming from for on-premise, or this is coming from from cloud, because that's more like a federated search scenario. It's actually coming everything on the same page. And why that's important? Because search, it's actually looking at the signals, not just at the content, and looking even at the external signals, and start ranking the documents in a different way. So you will have a more relevant search results on your first page, and always that's one of the goals for search engineers. You do a query, whatever should be more relevant for you to come up on your first page or first couple of pages, not on the 10th or 10th page. And SharePoint 2016, with the new infrastructure that it's in place, it's closing that gap more and more. Another scenario that we want to highlight today about SharePoint 2016, it's the zero downtime. So as an infrastructure and not really as a business analyst or IT person, you will get a lot of time the requests that, hey, I need to patch the SharePoint. I need to put new patches. I need to deploy new applications there. And that's affecting your usable time, especially if you're a company that is 24/7. And we have clients that have like data centers on and applications that need to run 24/7 around the globe. So what Microsoft introduced was to streamline the deployment of different roles. So they simplify the deployment on the roles on the servers, improve the performance and reliability of each component, and made the farm much more scalable. So it's helping you to have that zero downtime. So right now on to the new SharePoint 2016, you will have a much more granular role for each type of servers. If before, say, for SharePoint 2013, you have a web front end and a distributed cache on the same server. Right now, if you want to go over the best practices and put in the mini roles there are two different loads and will be deployed on two different servers. The applications are deployed on different servers. The specialized load line of business apps are different servers. The search is on the different servers. So you will see that the number of servers on the farm is actually increased. It's way bigger than on SharePoint 2013, but on the same time, it's giving you the flexibility on patching or deploying applications just on different roles. And of course, with the high availability that you have on the, if you want to put into consideration the whole high availability, you will see that a typical SharePoint farm can go up right now to 12 servers. And that's by design. And of course, like having all these mini roles and all these applications, like role application that you can shut down and patch very easy, it's way easier to have a zero downtime patching. And on top of that, Microsoft actually reduced the number of the deployment files of the MSP files, and it's a smaller footprint. For example, a typical patch before was something like 20 MSP files. Right now, what they have in 20 MSP files, they patch it on like 3 files. Much more simpler to download and patch, and that's reducing the time of patching. Plus, with the whole mini role infrastructure, because you're patching one role at a time, and if that's on the high availability mode, you can achieve that zero downtime patching. And all these lessons learned on the zero downtime patching and high availability are coming from cloud. It's not that it's something brand new. They built it, they tested on cloud, and right now they just ship it on SharePoint 2016. coming down with the next set of improvements on 2016 are the user experience. And what we will talk about on the user experience, so we'll talk about simple things like simple sharing, large file support, what's the notion of durable links, simple controls that are there, the mobile and touch experience, site folders, what they are, what's the new local search, and of course, the unified Delve search, Delve experience, and the developer experience there. So Microsoft went back to the drawing board and say, let's see how we can make everything much more simple for the end users. And they innovated in cloud, and they pushed back on the on-prem. So right now, for the documents library on SharePoint, they change, I don't want to say the look and feel, but they change the user interface. So you can see already who is on your site. You can very easy share your documents, and you can very easy improve the whole invitation. It's not just the user experience here, it's even the security. Think about that. You want to share a document, you just do a right click, throw in the email or the person who want to share, click share, and you can say, you can edit or view that, and almost everything is taken care of that. The whole experience, it's not new if you're looking on the whole bigger ecosystem, because it was already on cloud, but right now it's pushed even on the on-prem versions of SharePoint. The same thing when I was talking a little bit earlier about large file support. Right now we can upload files up to 10 gigabytes, and of course that is configurable to the web application level on the SharePoint farm. And that's the target for modern file, media, video, audio, so on, so on. So you can throw them on SharePoint much more easier right now. Another problem that a lot of time we saw in the space, it's how you collaborate with your colleagues and how you share your links. So in the moment you are uploading a file, the URL of the file become a link that can be thrown into another SharePoint site as a link or into another document. Sometimes you just rename that file, or sometimes you just change the location. So what's happening on that moment, if you have links that are on another document or another portion of the site, these links just become unusable. So based on that challenge, Microsoft come up with the idea of the durable links. It's not that it's something new, like extremely new. That's how I'm saying this is already on Office 365. It's just pushed down to SharePoint 2016 on-prem, but it's using the Office web apps or Office online servers. And for each file, you get a new unique number. So actually, if you are searching or throwing after that unique number on the URL, it's going to a redirect manager that is detecting where that file is located right now based on that unique number, and it's just showing that file to you. So all these problems on broken links because you renamed the file are going away. And how I was saying that was already introduced in Office 365, was already on the latest service pack on SharePoint 2013. Right now it's becoming de facto model in SharePoint 2016. And of course, simple controls. So the most common tasks that you are doing with SharePoint, like uploading files, creating new files, synchronizing your OneDrive files with your local folders, are introduced as simple controls right now in top of your screen. And I will demo that a little bit later. Another aspect that I want to touch is the mobile and touch experience. So Microsoft went back to the drawing board and they saw a lot of back and forth on how the content is presented on the desktops and on new modern devices like tablets, phones, iPhone, Androids, and so on, so on. So they go back to the drawing board and say, you know what, we'll put that user experience directly on our systems. So right now with SharePoint 2016, all the new documents libraries are responsive design. And when I'm talking responsive design, like really responsive design, not just a list of links to your documents. Well, you can do a little bit more with them. So, and that it's by design, you don't really need to customize, you don't need developers to go in and try to make that responsive from that point of view. So they're pushing more and more on the mobile and touch space and making things much more easier for the end users. And of course, with all this hybrid integration and all the content and all over the places, they introduced the notion of the site folder view. So you can go and search for, or not really search, say more access your preferred document libraries very easy right now. On your OneDrive for Business, they introduce the notion of followed document libraries or sites. So right now, I can follow a site, like literally click and follow, and all the documents library from there, they are appearing onto that site folder view. So most of the time, the sites that I'm working most of the time, they're appearing on that. I like to say quick links for sites and folders to access my documents. And of course, much more improvements on that. And such, I was saying that we'll talk a little bit more about Delve search a little bit later, but one of the improvements that they did for the end user was to actually search on my documents very easy. And on that predictive search, like typing a couple of letters and coming up with a list of documents based on prediction immediately that are on my documents library, and I can actually take actions from there. Of course that you have even the regular search there that you're searching, you have refiners, the whole page, but this way is giving you a quick and easy way to find documents, not looking on the more traditional search. And of course, another aspect was from the developer experience, that it's way more improved. You have APIs right now to build contextual apps that are integrated with Office application. When I say API, improved API, because there were APIs even before. And much more easier, you can create solutions that work with SharePoint 2016 and Office 365 for all the platform, web, mobiles. They provided API for single sign-on, authentications, you name it. And they provided on different languages, not just C#, right? They put their different languages. And of course, that these apps you can share through your Office store, through the Office store, or for your corporate catalog. So if you're building an app that you don't really want to share with the rest of the world, it's just organization one, you can use your own corporate catalog to deploy that app and make that app available to your corporation. And it's time to do a quick demo. It will be very quick. I will present my desktop. And I was saying that all these improvements are here. So if you look on the top level, you will see that the SharePoint navigation, it's very similar to whatever you saw on Office 365 before. And you have links to OneDrive, to sites, to newsfeed, so on, so on. I was talking about site folders. So in the moment that I actually followed one of the sites, I can see that I followed the home site, and I click on that, and I can see all the documents library. So it's giving me a quick view of all these elements in one single location. I was saying about search, the quick search directly on this interface on my documents that are located on all these sites. So I can just search after 2 or 3 letters, and immediately it's showing up documents that are relevant. And I was saying that I can actually take quick actions. I can share that document with somebody else. I can invite people. I can let them to edit or view. And all this stuff, it's actually it's pushing action behind the scene to do everything that was much more complex before. For example, if I want to share a document from a document library, wrong choice, you actually, if you are going to share it, you still have a normal view, but behind the scene, you still have the classic view of how you are sharing, with which SharePoint groups and all this stuff. So the interface is much more improved for the end user, so they don't really need to know all the aspects of SharePoint. If they are new to SharePoint, they just can use it. Coming back. I will come back to my PowerPoint. Okay. The next items that I want to talk, it's about security and compliance. So a lot of improvements that were happening on Office 365 space were actually shipped right now on the on-premise. And when I'm talking about that, it's notion about data loss prevention, classification IDs, improve security on using policy templates for security or document description. Will be just a quick, brief introduction on this. I think we have a complete webinar just for that on the series that one of my colleagues will be presenting. So one of the things that was improved on SharePoint 2016 and of course on Office 365 was the whole notion of data loss prevention. Microsoft invested a lot of effort on this. So searching after sensitive data, it's, I don't want to say blocked, but it's improved to prevent that. There are out-of-the-box detections type directly built in the content processing and the search content processing pipeline. There's methods of simple no-code document upload and fingerprinting. And of course, the whole notion of information rights management was implemented on SharePoint. So not that these things didn't exist before, right now becomes more and more a norm on how the SharePoint is deployed. Before, you probably needed way more knowledge to put all this stuff in place. You were paying way more money to get everything right. Right now, it's actually part of the standard package that it's much more usable. And to improve all this data loss prevention is the notion of classifications IDs. So searching after sensitive content in your e-discovery centers is done through a classifications ID. Classifications IDs are actually templates that are saying, okay, here is the pattern that I want you to search and block the content. And out of the box, there are 51 templates, some of them related to social security, license cards, credit card, bank account, so on and so on. And I will show a little bit later how this is set up, just to give you an example on what's happening there. And of course, after you're putting all this data classification ID and recording the queries, you can create policy templates. There are already some of the DLP policy templates already in place. So you can start from a template and customize and apply the templates to your e-discovery center and use them. And of course, another thing is the whole notion of document encryption. I was saying before was a little bit much more harder to put the whole IRM infrastructure in place. Right now, it's much more easier. In Office 365, it's almost coming by default there. In SharePoint 2016, there are some configuration, but not that at that level that was before. It's much more simpler. And I will do again a small demo showing what it's there. So I'm coming to my e-discovery center from Office 360 from SharePoint Online. It's a demo environment, brand new, out of the box, not a lot of data there. And I can create a DLP query very easy. I can click new items and select one of the templates there. And for example, for US financial data that I'm selecting here, you can see that the query, the search query, it's actually searching after credit card numbers, sensitive types, that's US bank account numbers that are actually items embedded in ABA routing, so on, so on. So I can create my query very easy. I don't really need to know all the language that a search person or a hardcore developer person was doing before. You just need, with a little bit of like a BA skills, you can create this query very easy and let the system in place to do his magic and get the results back. And of course, like you have a start date and date, what the actions you want, so on, so on. But how I was saying is like one of my colleagues will be presenting this in a completely separate session later on another webinar. Getting back to my presentation. Another items that we want to touch base is the cloud hybrid scenario. And what we will talk here is what is new and improved here in the OneDrive for Business, the notion of the Delve and Office Graph and how these are connected, how the team sites are coming into a mix here, how the extranets are coming into a mix, and what is the operational insight. So OneDrive for Business, I was mentioning before, it's your personal storage for storing your documents, like, of course, business documents, and share them with your colleagues and work with them. It's that place that it's actually replacing what the Y drive or the Z drives that the industry was using before, the file shares. And right now we have tools that are seamlessly integrated. In the mobile. You can synchronize the data between your laptop, OneDrive, your tablet. So you have all these tools in place provided by Microsoft to share that. And of course, the whole security and compliance is built in. And why it's important, I was saying before, with SharePoint 2016 is that you can keep your OneDrive, your personal OneDrive on premise. You don't really need to go on cloud if you don't want with that. You can keep your data on premise. And there are a lot of scenarios where clients are asking, we don't want to put the OneDrive on cloud. We just want to have that. So it's a major improvement from the integration perspective because all this data that is on the OneDrive can be searched by hybrid search connection and can come up in your Office 365 Delve profiles. And we'll go there a little bit later. And another notion is like is the fact that on SharePoint 2016, you can extend your team sites on premise and on cloud. So if you have team size that, if you have teams that are working across companies, you can deploy it, for example, a team site on cloud and don't keep them on your infrastructure and have a unified mode to log in with Windows login, and the whole infrastructure is taking care of the authentication. But at the same time, you want to have team sites that are just for your personal or company team. The information is much more sensitive. You can keep them on premise. And of course, the whole integration to be seamless. So what Microsoft was doing was extending team size from the on-premise to Office 365 and vice versa, and having the same experience to get across the on-premise and on-cloud. And of course, the whole permission and user management to be very, very similar. Another notion that we're talking right now is about the Delve and Office graph. Delve, it's actually an Office graph actually exists just on cloud, but they are getting the signals for all over the place. So with that hybrid search, you can deploy the connections on the connectors on the on-premise, start crawling the content from your on-premise environment and have that data on cloud. And of course, you can get data for OneDrive for Business, cloud or on-prem, for SharePoint on-prem or on Office 365 for Exchange, Yammer, Calendar, Sky for Business. All these events, signals, documents are actually they are actually surfaced on Delve. And it's a whole integration with Office 365 and SharePoint there. If you're looking on Delve, it's actually built in top of was the search engine before. So the search engine from SharePoint 2010, fast search. SharePoint 2013 was way, way, way more improved and becomes what is Delve today. It's implemented on cloud and it's getting the signals all over the place. And going a little bit further, we have even the notion of extranets and intranets. So if you want to publish an internal site right now, externally, you can use that you can do that using Office 365 and ADFS. Much more easier, you deploy the connection and do that. You don't need to do it on the old-fashioned way. So if somebody wants to log into Office 365, you can use that route. And it's much more simpler to push internal content outside in a more secure way. And of course, the whole data analysis and reporting for SharePoint usage, it's way improved. It's based on a lot of the stats here, and a lot of the analysis is coming from the SharePoint, the SQL 2016, and still a portion of that will be shipped sometimes in September when a new release will coming out. But operational insight, it's way more improved than was before for the SharePoint world. So I will show my screen again to go back to show you the Delve experience. So I was talking about Delve, and I was saying this is how Microsoft is consolidating all the data into a unified search experience. And when you see here, you can see stuff that are relevant to me, documents that are relevant to me, and it's based on the words that I'm searching, of course, and the ranking that is going in, and the signals that are coming in. And all these documents that are showing here, like in a new modern way, that I can actually share. I can see that it's a Word. I can send a link. I can share that. Who can see it? Are coming up in a new interface. So you can do a lot of stuff with that, and it's not something completely new in SharePoint 2016, but it's one piece of integration that it's getting the data for all the places, and it's one place where most of the users will go to see the information from all the places. And it's tightly integrated with the whole SharePoint 2016 world. Coming back to my presentation. So, in conclusion, SharePoint 2016, it's designed from the cloud. It's a major infrastructure update of SharePoint. And the big benefits is that it's a foundation for what it's coming from now on. It's one of the foundations that you need to put in place if you want to upgrade very easy. And on the last announcements in May, when Microsoft was talking about the future of SharePoint, they made the announcements that almost every single year, everything that it's on cloud from SharePoint perspective, or elements that on that will be shipped on-prem. So will be a new package that will come next year that will be like a service pack, will not be a new release of SharePoint. They will be just packages on the actual SharePoint that exists today. And of course, it's providing the best-in-class IT and developer experience for SharePoint and for the SharePoint experience for the users. So that's from conclusions. We still have 5 minutes. I will open the chat, or we will take questions right now. So if anybody have a question, please place them in the questions chat box, and I will try to respond.
Thanks, Cosmin. It looks like we have one question. Are there any changes or consideration for migrating from old SharePoint to 2016?
Changes and conditions to migrate from SharePoint 2013 to 2016. It's the regular upgrade. It's way improved from scalability perspective. Of course, if you have customization that need to be taken in consideration, some of the APIs calls are deprecated, but not a lot. So that need to be analyzed to see what can be migrated from code perspective, but is not something that is very hard. It's I would say it's a pretty straightforward migration path. And of course, with SharePoint 2016 and to say Office 365 with the new site collections that are coming in 2016, there will be very easy to move one to another, as long as you don't have to say complicated deployments or complicated code deployed there. If will be a free version of SharePoint 2016, from what I know, no. Like the SharePoint Foundation was discontinued. So SharePoint 2016 seems like it's coming just on the paid versions. Any other questions?
I think that is it. If you have any other questions, you can definitely follow up and email us at info@newsignature.com. It looks like we might have one more.
Okay. If you can migrate Foundation to SharePoint 2016, yes, at the end of the day, even SharePoint 2013 server was based on Foundation. They are using pretty much the same, I don't want to say same tables, but on the SQL database, they are using pretty much the same structure. And the whole SharePoint 2013 server was based on Foundation. So yeah, definitely you can migrate from Foundation to 2016 without any problem.
All right, that about wraps up our webinar. Thank you everybody for joining, and thank you Cosmin and Duncan for the presentation. As mentioned earlier, the recording and slides will be emailed out in 2 to 3 business days. Thanks everyone, have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Victoria. Thanks, Cosmin. And if people are interested, please, feel free to sign up for Chapter 2 coming up in July around the hybrid scenarios for SharePoint 2016 and Office 365. And then obviously we have our data loss prevention series number 3, Chapter 3, coming up in August as well, which Cosmin mentioned. So hopefully people can join for those as well. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.